On today's video, my son Nick and I were out here at the camp and checking on the Wheel of Death, checking the game cameras, and I also wanted to share a story with you guys about that buck I shot last year and how I almost didn't get a chance at it. Hey there, outdoor YouTubers. Well, like I said earlier, me and Nick, we're out here at the camp, just kind of checking on things, game cameras, Wheel of Death. But I also wanted to share with you guys this story about that buck I shot last year. Now, I know a lot of you guys that follow the channel are kind of laughing right now because I use any opportunity in pretty much any video to bring up that buck I shot last year. Because for me, it was a very nice buck, the kind of buck that I do not typically shoot. So, you know, I was pretty excited to get it, so whatever. I like to bring it up a little bit. But, again, I do want to share this story with you guys. So, hey Nick, we were out here for 4 days to start the season. You know, we didn't get any deer. We went back to the house. We went back home for like 2 days, and then we were coming back out here again for basically 3 days. And we got back out here, and our buddies Scott and Gary were already out here. Gary had shot a 6-pointer the night before, which was awesome. And then, you know, we're just talking in the camp, and Scott tells us, oh, hey, by the way, one of our camp neighbors texted him to let us know, hey, you're probably going to see me walking on your property. You're probably going to have pictures of it on your game cameras, because he had shot a buck, they were tracking it, and it led them onto our property, and they never did get it. Okay, and we're good friends with these guys and stuff, and they knew they had full permission to track a deer onto our property. That was not an issue at all. But as I say, oh, that stinks. They didn't find it. Whatever. You know, there was snow on the ground, and they were telling us how the blood just ended. Okay. So again, I didn't think a whole lot of it, and hunted that night, nothing. Hunted the next night, and that was the night I shot that buck. And you know, if you want to see, I did self-film that hunt, and if you want to see that, or you want to see anything more about last deer season, I'll leave a link to the video I did about last deer season. You know, about us being out here for that first week and the deer we got, that sort of thing. Just, you know, deer season videos, camp deer season videos are always a lot of fun, right? So anyways, if you want to check that out, I'll leave a link to that. Again, I self-filmed the hunt. You get to see all about that, yada, yada, yada. But one thing I didn't realize the night I shot that deer is that deer came in and it stopped short of coming out into my main lane. And it just stood out there kind of meandering around off to the side for like 5 minutes, okay? I'm sitting in the blind. The camera is mounted about 2 feet to the right of me, and the camera actually had a better angle to see into the woods to the left of my lane. So the camera actually picked this deer up. Of course, I'm sitting in the blind. I was probably actually jotting some notes down in a notebook. That's what I do a lot of times, periodically looking up. So anyways, but the camera's always watching, right? So the camera picked up that deer like 5 minutes before I even knew it was out there. I didn't know it was there until it actually stuck its head out in the lane. You know, I saw antlers, got the gun up, got the safety valve, got ready, you know, because it actually pulled back again, but then it came out, gave me a little bit of front shoulder, and I shot it. So I didn't realize till later that that deer had been meandering around for that long before it even came out. So I found that kind of interesting. And then it was probably about 3 or 4 days later, we went ahead and we processed that deer. And we do process our own deer. My dad is a career meat cutter. My dad, for many, many years, did side jobs cutting up deer. And we've done plenty of deer processing videos. Again, if you want to check any of those out, I'll leave links to those also down in the description. But so I had my dad coming over a little later in the day, but I started skinning it and quartering it up, and I was kind of getting it ready for him to kind of come in and do the technical stuff. But So as I was skinning it, I had shot it here in the shoulder. It you know, didn't hardly go anywhere at all. But as I was peeling the skin off, I noticed, boy, the whole front leg seemed like there was just a lot of coagulated blood, and it seemed like the whole front shoulder was messed up, which I didn't really think it should have been, because I know I had shot it up here. So I was just kind of looking around at that front leg and kind of questioning why it seemed so you know, bloodshot. And you know, as I was peeling back the hide, I could see like one little hole in the hide, which it was, you know, kind of right in here. And then I got to looking a little bit closer, and yeah, it did look like a bullet had passed through that right front leg of that deer. And again, you know, I hadn't really thought about our camp neighbor saying he had shot one and tracked it and wasn't able to find it. But of course, then it hit me. I was like, whoa, I bet this was the deer that he shot, tracked, and couldn't find. So, and the other interesting part about that is it didn't appear that that bullet came in contact with any bone. You know, I think it just was kind of a flesh wound. There was no extra blood on that front leg, so it really truly had stopped bleeding. I can't say for sure it was the same buck. Our camp neighbor really could only describe it as a nicer racked buck. It was moving pretty fast through the woods when he shot at it. He didn't really have, you know, time to sit there and count points and measure spreads, but he did say it was a nicer racked buck. And so I'm thinking that was the buck I wound up getting. So that's kind of interesting. So if he had just shot just slightly higher, you know, I wouldn't have this story to tell you. So anyway, so that's maybe kind of the conclusion to that buck that I shot last year. I'm not saying that I'm not going to talk about it more, but that's kind of the little bit of the back and front story to shooting that buck that I really hadn't shared with you guys yet until this year. Okay, well, if you've been kind of following along with the channel, last week I set up a mouse trap here in our woodshed, Wheel of Death mouse trap, and I've featured the Wheel of Death in other videos. And anyways, so I haven't even really gone up right next to the trap yet, but if you look, it looks like something pretty serious was going on here. That can was there was no holes in that can last week. Looked like somebody's been chewing on it, and I've got to believe it was a bear. I don't know. Now I do have this game camera up. I put this on here, so we'll see what we got there. I was a little nervous about this camera. Maybe it hadn't been working that great, so I guess we're gonna find out. And we do have several mice in there, so I mean, I guess that part of it's working out okay. Yeah, guys, I am super bummed out to report that game camera did not work at all. So I have no pictures, no video of whatever had been chewing on that can. But as you'll see, we're going to bait it back up again. We're going to add another game camera to the mix. So maybe whatever did that, maybe it'll come back. So anyways, like I showed you earlier, it looks like maybe a bear got into our spinning can here on the Wheel of Death. And if you've watched other videos, you may have heard me mention this, but this is actually a Miller Lite Packer Super Bowl commemorative can, you know, and we've had it on this arrow shaft, on this bucket for many years. It's lasted this long, but man, it took a beating. You know, I don't know. I hope that's not some kind of ominous sign, you know, for the Packers this year, you know, with Aaron Rodgers being traded and everything. But anyways, I'm joking. anyways, we're gonna bait it up. We're just gonna roll with this for now, and woo, maybe we'll consider a replacement for next time. But for today, we're just gonna go with this. It'll still be enough to get a few mice to make that leap of faith. Put this in the back here. And there's our little ramp so they can get up there. And yeah, see how it goes. In light of that bear kind of getting into our wheel of death, we're going to add one more game camera to it. Like I said earlier, I wasn't super sure that I even trusted the game camera that was on it. It was just a real cheap camera that I had, and you know, I guess I didn't really think something as exciting as a bear was going to be in there, so I just kind of put one of my cheaper cameras there. So we're going to mount another camera looking over that, and you know, I just thought I'd mention to you guys again, these game camera mounts, these fully adjustable game camera mounts, these are just awesome. I mean, this, you know, this is a, you know, an HME particular product. I think other companies make them, but we're gonna mount that camera up with one of these dudes. And I'll tell you, a couple weeks ago, I did do a video on game camera setup tips, and I did talk about these a little bit, among several other things. But if you want to check that out, if you want to maybe get a few extra tips on setting up game cameras, I'll leave a link to that video too below in the description of this one. But anyways, so we're going to be using one of these fully adjustable game camera mounts. So yeah, so we got this extra camera. We got our wheel of death down there. See what happens.
Spotted a wasp flying behind that sign, and sure enough, there's one in between there and the camp.
Oh yeah.
Nest.
Yeah, well, we'll give that a shot before we go too then, I guess. Okay. So yeah, some of you viewers are like, hey, why don't you have your son spray those nests? That's a young man's game. And I hear you out there, viewers, so this is what we did. Sometimes I feel a little guilty about when I stick my own offspring in harm's way instead of myself, but looks like we're okay. Yeah, so Nick thought he saw a few behind the 3-point lounge and billiard room sign, which he did. And after we sprayed, yeah, there's a handful that came out. So, yeah, glad we sprayed that. So guys, if you're interested in more videos about getting out and enjoying the great outdoors of Michigan's Upper Peninsula, be sure to check out the entire channel. And if you enjoy what you see, please consider liking and subscribing. And for bonus content, be sure to check out our Patreon page. A link to this page can be found in the description of this video. And also guys, remember to hunt, fish, laugh, repeat. Thanks for watching, and God bless.